Hello, everyone, and good morning. Welcome to our live feed update for the morning of August 5th. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and today I am joined by a very, very special guest. Unfortunately, Liana couldn't make it for the Liana Saturdays, but I think I got the next best thing. We've got Adam from the So You Think You Can podcast competition. You did beat Liana, so there's that.
Yeah, I think it was fixed.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. That seems to be the word on the street.
On Reddit, that was the word. It was definitely second.
Yes. We were having some
Okay.
slight connection issues, so I apologize if any occur. But yes, very excited to be talking to Adam today to go over everything that happened on the live feeds yesterday. So in the morning, we had a quick change of plans from yesterday. We talked to you about how we felt like Josh was going to go for Cody and Jessica, that Jessica was probably going home, and that, man, everything seemed nice and set. But immediately after waking up, Josh goes to Christmas and says, hey, look, you know what? I want to target Elena. I want to get Elena out of this house, Christmas. How do you feel about that, Adam?
It's the first time this whole season that want to think maybe this is a restructure of the game as we know it, and I'm very proud of the big meatball. He's really sticking.
Yes, I'm having a little bit of trouble hearing Adam. Let me know if you are as well in the chat.
Great.
But Humberto asks, is this a Delilah situation? I mentioned that because Josh seemed as though he was seeming like he wasn't liking what Elena was doing. And it did kind of feel like, Josh has a crush on Elena, maybe because it's not reciprocated. Are we having a Delilah situation? I don't think so. I mean, it's definitely like some part of his decision making, but what he has been saying is that he feels like Jess and Cody, they're always going to be outcasts. But Elena, she plays the middle, and she has a lot of people's ear. She's very influential. And also, he feels like, with Elena gone, it'll kind of force Paul to be a little more loyal to our side Christmas, because he won't have Elena as somebody to go to. And then hopefully Adam can be heard if he wants to respond to that.
I tried to.
Probably not. Yes. So I'm going to continue to just talk to myself for a little while as I send out this link to other people that might join in, hopefully. So yes, Christmas talks a lot about Paul as well, and she plants some seeds with Josh about Paul, saying things like, maybe we should, Paul has been kind of sketchy. The way he's been acting with your HOH has been kind of like, I don't know. Josh was like, oh, when I was in the HOH room, Paul was saying like, oh yeah, go get some water, Josh. And he was like, that's no good. I don't like that. And yeah, Jerry says in the chat, Christmas is going to flip on Paul. It really does kind of seem like Christmas all of a sudden has woken up and is saying, we shouldn't let Paul run the game. So very interesting there that Christmas is on board with this. We'll see if he's able to get other people on board, though, because that's kind of the issue. If he goes against Paul, then he has to have the numbers. So moving on, we also had Josh talking about who he wanted to put up in place of Paul, or not in place of Paul. Sorry. I'm doing other things. All right. So in place of Jessica and Cody, essentially what he wanted to do was backdoor Elena. He wants Elena to go home, and he wanted to do a backdoor. That probably was not going to work. So we have this temptation competition. The idea is that Cody is going to win it. Jess is going to try to throw it. But Unfortunately, for Paul, this is actually what happens. We got bye Adam. We saw Josh. We saw Cody win. I am a mess right now. We saw Cody win the temptation competition. Jess actually did manage to throw this competition and lose. So Jess was an automatic nomination. Cody is safe this week. And now we have to have an alternative plan, which is put Elena and Mark up as quote-unquote pawns with Elena as the actual real target, but not everyone is on board with this. Adam, are we able to hear you yet?
Is there anything?
Yes, I hear you now.
Oh my God, there is a Jesus. Okay, so what was your question? I was trying to get my Zencaster ready.
Okay, so now we have Josh's new plan is nominate Mark and Elena and claim that they're pawns.
Yes, and okay, so Josh's target is Elena, but Big Daddy Paul does not like this at all. Big Daddy Paul wants to make sure that Jessica goes home, and Josh doesn't care. Josh looked at the camera and he said, me and Elena flirt. She's really nice to me. I'll take her out for meatballs after this, but I want Elena out. And even he did talk to the camera numerous times and make sure, he said, this is my HOH. I did everything that everyone else wanted when they were HOH. I want Elena out, and I respect that.
Yeah, and he tries to pitch this to Paul, saying essentially what he said, like, Jess and Cody, they're on the outs. But they're never going to get any traction in this game. Elena, she's much more dangerous. We need to take her out. And Paul was like, no. I hear what you're saying, but the timing is off. You cannot do this. And usually Paul gets his way. But as Paul leaves that room, Josh, as you mentioned, says to the cameras, I don't care what Paul says. Yeah. I'm going to get Paul to come around. Elena is going home. So Josh is everything that we thought he would be as an HOH. I think he's immediately living up to the promise.
Taran, don't you think, though, this is the sign of not the best Big Brother player by not letting someone else get what they want? I feel like all the greats, do you think Derek would ever really go at someone this hard and say, this isn't what I want? Like, is this really affecting Paul that much that Jessica won't go home? Like, who cares if Elena goes home? Like, he has to really sit back and show, you know what? I could chill. I could let my minions have their weeks and feel like they're in power as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is what happened, again, with Paulie, where Paulie felt the need to micromanage every decision and brush over what the people in his alliance wanted, like Paul. And it ended up pissing Paul off to the point where he was very amenable to turning on Paulie. So we could very well see Paul do the exact same thing to his allies here. Granted, what Paul is saying is correct. They should be taking out Jess. At least for Paul's game, it is much better for Paul if they take out Jess. Elena is an ally who will never put him up. Jess is somebody who will always put him up and try to ruin his game. But there can be an argument to be made that maybe this is a better move for Josh because he's right. I mean, Josh out of nowhere has some correct logic here where it does sort of force Paul's loyalty. Elena is somebody that's not loyal to Josh in any way. The argument against it is that, yes, probably Jess and Cody will never vote for him in jury, whereas Elena might theoretically. But then, does Josh have a lot of jury votes anyway? I feel like making a move against Paul right now will win him more jury votes than keeping in somebody who might vote for him in the end. I initially was thinking this is probably a bad plan, but I do like Josh's logic. The only problem I'm having with it right now is that he doesn't have the votes, and I'm not sure he'll be able to have the votes. And even if he does get the votes, I think that he might do it in such a way that pisses Paul off so much that maybe Paul goes after Josh next week, which would not be good for him, obviously. But overall, I'm kind of on board with this. Are you, Adam?
Yeah, no, I'm definitely on board with it, and I think it's just because we might see this shift in power. And I think as time goes on, we're going to see both Christmas and Paul fight for Josh. And I think Josh is more loyal to Christmas right now as he's talking to her with this plan, and she's more on board with this plan. So I think the game's going to change. I think this is showing cracks in the Paul alliance. I'm just hoping that it continues we continue to see more and more cracks. As for the votes, do we really – I know Matt's really with Paul, but do you think there's any chance he says, you know what, I'm on board to vote Jessica out, or he's just going to stick with Raven and stick with Paul and keep Elena?
I think that Matt and Raven are fully on board with Paul at this point. Here's how I think I should break it down. Okay, so we'll briefly also talk about Josh pitched the plan to Alex and Jason as well. Alex seemed like, I don't know, that doesn't seem right to me, but sure, you're HOH. We'll go with it. We'll see how it goes. So Here's how I see the numbers playing out right now. Obviously, Josh has Cody, who will vote to evict Elena if there's a plan for Elena versus Jessica. We have Christmas, who is on board with the plan. And obviously, if Mark is theoretically off the block, that helps him out because he'll have Mark's vote. But those are the people who are for sure going to be on board with this plan to evict Elena. But I think Paul definitely has Matt and Raven. I think that Paul also has Alex right now. I think that Alex was hesitant enough about the plan that when she talks to Paul, she'll be like, okay, yeah, Paul, what you're saying makes sense. We have the numbers. We'll be good. The question is, does Jason and Kevin stick with this thing? Because I could absolutely, and Whitney says this in the chat as well. It just went away. I could see Jason and Kevin going against this and evicting Elena. The problem I have with it is that if Alex is with Paul, she will push Jason to not do this. So who knows? There's a lot of time here for things to change, and we could theoretically see an uprising. But is Josh capable of pulling that off, Adam?
I don't know if he's capable of pulling it off against Paul. I could see him pulling it off against anyone else in the house all season long. But I feel like if Paul gets in enough people's ears, it's going to be very difficult. And we talk about Jason flipping and voting to evict Elena. But if Alex, his number one ally in the house, is voting to keep Elena, I think he's going to do what she wants to do. Jason seems very scared of the bigger people in the game. And he seems very nervous when people kind of get on him. And he seems very easily intimidated. So I don't see him being the one to make the big power move to flip to Josh's side.
Yeah, it seems as though right now, while I do kind of like the plan from Josh, he doesn't have the numbers to pull it off, and that makes it go from like a maybe good move to a really bad move if he tries to pull it off and fails, because that will, I think, put him. What will happen is if it comes out that Josh and Christmas tried to pull this against Paul despite Paul not being on board and then not having the numbers to do it, I think it will swap Mark and Elena with Paul and with Josh and Christmas, and they will be the next targets for the big group. So he needs to be very careful how he treads with this one. We also saw he talked to Elena about being a pawn. Elena was not having it, trying to talk him out of putting her up as a pawn. It kind of just made him more angry, though, and he used this conversation against her later.
Yeah, she lied, right? She told him something. She said, "Okay, well, what's your motive? Is it because you think I'm a strong competitor? Alex is a strong competitor. Paul's a strong competitor. Put them up. Don't put me up." And then he mentioned this whole conversation to Paul, and she completely said, she's like, "No, I never mentioned Paul's name." And she lied right to his face about it, and that made him a lot more pissed off. And I think it did throw up a lot of red flags about Elena's game, and she knew as she was going on the block. So for her to raise hell and get really annoyed, I feel like just made a really, really poor case for her going forward in this game. I thought it was the worst thing Elena did this far.
Yeah, and I mean, essentially what happens is Josh nominates Elena and Mark takes it really well. Mark is playing cool, and Elena gets very upset, and she even gets upset at Paul, saying like, were you in on this, Paul? Like, did you do this? Like, Paul is the last person she should be upsetting right now. And if this plan does work to evict Elena, it very well could be because Elena pisses Paul off enough that he doesn't want to put up a fight to save her. Yeah.
No, there's a great chance because we saw Elena last night really self-implode on herself and just kind of she's usually she was stuttering all over the place when she was talking to Josh. It was a mess. And if she and be that she say bounce in the Big Brother house. If you're going on the block, Mark's doing a great job at just taking it, accepting his fate, and saying, "You know what? I trust you guys." And even if you don't, Spencer Clausen, he actually calmed the whole.
Yes, some slight connection issues again, but. For the most part, it's been fine. Yes, Elena not handling this super well, unfortunately for her. We also saw Jess and Cody not handle this very well either, because they essentially went off on Josh for like Josh is still claiming that he's targeting them. But he wants to have a conversation with them later. They're like, we don't need to have a conversation with you. Your agenda is clear. We're pissed at you, Josh. Luckily for them, he's kind of immune to this. He feels like this is par for the course with them. But this is kind of like an Ika Dimitri's situation with Kevin, where it's just like he actually wants to do something with you, but you're telling him to shove it up his rear end there.
Yeah.
So luckily for them, Josh is acting a bit Kevinish, and he's still sticking with his plan despite that. But again, it's kind of like we're chronicling the situation of Jess and Cody just making the wrong decision at every possible turn.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
I could briefly hear you, and then you cut out.
Yeah,
so.
I'll give a thumbs up instead.
Yes. All right. Not much more to go through. We'll get through this one. So we also saw Christmas do some work with Jessica. After that, Christmas was talking with Jess, saying, maybe there's something else in the cards for you here. Jess doing much better work with them than Josh did. If Christmas pulls this off again, if Christmas is able to get this to work, this is even a better move for Christmas than it is for Josh, because she can do it behind the scenes and get this relationship with Jess like solidified. Jess will no longer have Elena. She'll only have she'll only have Christmas. And so having Christmas is going to be the only Christmas having Jessica is going to be really good for her game, because she'll have these two people that are not going to go for her. She can use them to go against everyone else. It'll be very good for Christmas if she's able to pull this off. So all of a sudden, Christmas just doing some work, and we've been kind of not sure what to do with Christmas's game, but I'm really enjoying what I'm seeing from her at least these couple of days.
Am I still crappy?
You're good right now.
Okay, so I like Christmas. I see we've seen a lot of very cattiness, and I could see the evil side of Christmas, and it's like the day after Christmas, you could see that inside of her. So I'm waiting for that to come out on Paul, and hopefully maybe this is the start of that.
Yes. All right. So we also had another pretty crazy thing happen where Kevin wants to use Cody all of a sudden. Kevin feels like, all right, I've got this brilliant plan. Once we get Jess out, then we can pull in Cody and be like, look, we're the only people that win competitions. If you work with us instead of working with them, we can all get to top 7, top 8. It'll be great. It's a wonderful plan. He pitched it to Jason, who was like, I don't know. He pitched it to Paul, who was like, no, I don't think so. But Kevin is he's trying to work this. Kevin has been somebody like Christmas. He's been trying to maintain a relationship with Cody and Jess for a little while, and so he feels like you know what? They feel good about me. They feel good about Jason. Why don't we use them? And I gotta say, from Kevin's point of view, it's a decent plan. But what he thinks he can do in terms of protecting Paul, I think, is a little misguided here. If he says protect us and Paul, I think Cody will not be having that. But if he says protect Jason and me at the very least, then I think he's got something here if he's able to keep it on the down low. But going to Paul with it, I think, is the mistake here.
Yeah, no, you can't. I feel like anything that involves Cody or Paul, you don't go to Cody or Paul with. Like they hate each other. There's no reconciling that relationship. I think that was this silly thing, is to bring it to Paul. And no matter how confident he is in his relationship with Paul, you don't bring that bit of information to Paul.
Yes, and what this says about Kevin. Also, Kevin doesn't really know about the Elena plan yet. Whether or not he goes through with that plan, I think what he's banking on is that Jess is going to be gone and that Cody will be alone to work with. So if Jess stays, I don't know if he feels good about this plan anymore, which might mean that he might lean toward evicting Jess and not going along with the Elena plan. So. Yeah. Not looking great for Josh's plan right now. But again, there's a lot of time here, and the veto can do all sorts of crazy things. So we'll have to see what happens with that. So yeah, that's basically what happened. There's still a lot pending, but basically this could have been a very slow week. But luckily, Josh is the HOH, and he has this crazy idea, which if he pulls it off, again, when I talked to Brent was saying, I don't think Josh is out of this. And what I said was, here's what Josh needs to do. If he wants any chance at winning the game, he needs to start the uprising against Paul. I think people will respect that. And here we go. This could be the start of that. I think he needs to recognize that this is declaring war on Paul. If he's not able to get Paul on board, it will be declaring war. And again, it could turn from a decent move to a very, very bad move if it goes wrong. But again, I like the idea behind it. And I think it's going to make for a very interesting week if we see this back and forth between Paul and Josh and the veto and everything happening. This might have just turned into a three-party system here with three different groups of conflicting desires. So looking forward to this week, Adam.
No, I can't wait. It's going to be fun to watch.
Yes. All right. So thanks so much for coming on, Adam. Hopefully we can get you on again with a better connection. But this is a fun update. How does Taran react when he has to just talk to himself? The robot malfunctions a little bit. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. I will be hosting the episode recap tomorrow night after the East Coast airing of the nomination ceremony episode. That should hopefully be pretty fun. You can also check out our next update tomorrow at noon Eastern. And, of course, check out the Taran Show when it drops on Tuesday. I'll be announcing the guest soon, very soon, hopefully. So check that out. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We will see you next time.